Good morning, guys. It's Kevin here from TranquilityScapes. If you recognize this backyard, it's because we've been here. If you ever watched the video that is us building the 7th water feature on this property, well, we're back. Walking through these gardens over here, this is the waterfall we built last year, but this little pondless waterfall is the reason why we're here. We're not ripping it out. He loved this one so much that he wanted us to put our touch on this existing pond. As you can see, this existing pond is pretty large. It's about like an 18 by 19 pond, but it's got an issue. That waterfall has a seam in it that is leaking constantly, so without the autofill, this pond just keeps on draining. The second thing that bothers him is this waterfall is pretty large, but the thing is, from his viewing areas right over here, he can't see that at all. I'm standing basically right in his viewing area, and these two drops are minuscule, but the stream area is completely hidden because of how they designed this waterfall. So even though we have a 5,000 to 9,000 pump on this pond, the flow is still not there. You can see right up there, they didn't even put a weir stone. That is just the Waterfall's lip. Early turn off the pump. That's why the water's all murky, because we are draining the pond as I'm talking. But we had some areas where this waterfall liner was seamed right here, but for some reason that seam is failing. So what we're going to do is rip out this entire thing, actually shift the Waterfalls over a few feet, do an overlap into here because we have the elevation. That way we don't have to bother with seams. Seaming's always a liability, which we don't want to do if we don't have to. So we'll take out this front row of rocks, drop in our overlap liner, and then build this waterfall actually facing the viewing area over there. The second reason why we're here today is because of these oak trees. As you can tell, he is in a super woodsy setting, and that skimmer gets clogged when these oak trees start to shed. What we're going to be doing is pulling that skimmer out, pulling this rockwork out, and actually seaming across this. And what we're going to be doing is extending the pond and doing an intake bay. That way he gets a little higher time between cleanings and gives him a higher interval of maintenance. But also eliminates his other problem is he has a lot of tiny fish. He gets a bunch of babies and they like to swim in the current. Unfortunately, they get sucked into the skimmer and they can't get out. So it causes a little more headaches for him. He's always having to check the skimmer. With an intake bay, they'll be able to swim in freely and then swim right out without any worries. It's just an unfortunate side effect of a skimmer. No matter what skimmer you use, you're going to have that problem. But in this scenario, because of how much these trees are shedding and with the small fish, an intake bay is a perfect fix for this. For today is to get this area completely cleaned up, get our intake bay excavated, and get this liner seamed done. So tomorrow we can just basically rock in that intake bay, wrap up this area before the machine comes and we have to take out those boulders over there. After getting our seam completely done, we were able to flip over our liner, get our aqua blocks and pump vault installed. And yesterday we spent most of the day just rocking in this intake bay. We have a few more rocks left over in the back corner, and then we just have to sneak in our plumbing. Unfortunately, our plumbing's kind of underneath that patio, so we're gonna have to dig that up and redo the connection and bulkhead through that liner over there because that vault is underwater. Over here we have a 4-foot bridge that is just mocked up right now. Once we get our footings set up for this bridge is going to be set, and it's going to be a flush transition from that patio all the way over to this walkway over here. Once this bridge is in place and everything's edged, this intake bay is completely done. Then we can move over there to that waterfall. The second part of this renovation, that first part was that intake bay, but the homeowner also wanted us to deal with this waterfall like I mentioned in the beginning. One, he didn't like the aesthetics, but two, more importantly, this was knowingly leaking. Even the existing contractor knew it was leaking. He's come out multiple times to fix it. He can't fix it. We got X to fix it. Unfortunately, when it comes to these repairs, the only thing to do is to rip them out completely and restart from scratch, because we've run into scenarios like this where you have this fabric and all these boulders that were sitting here, and these are hiding problems that you can't see unless you rip it out. So Rob's moving that fabric. Right under here, we see that we have a seam. Now, the best thing to do in this situation is we could have overlapped it. You have the elevation right there, but this contractor decided to seam it. But right over here, we have some folds that are open. Right on that section right here, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but this is scrap liner that was used to use as cover tape. You can see the difference. This is cover tape. It's a very thick material. This is a very flimsy, just EPDM liner. Scrap piece that they use to finish it off. But more importantly, we got one seam here to extend the liner, we have another seam there to extend the liner, and we have another seam all the way back there to extend the liner. I think in total over here in just this section there's 4 or 5 seams just to extend the liner, which should never be happening. This waterfall had to get ripped out for us to even find this issue, and we come across this a lot where customers have a project built by someone else and they task us to see if we can find and fix the issue. Unfortunately, sometimes it's finding a needle in the haystack. You aren't going to be able to find an issue like that unless you rip out this waterfall. In that scenario right there, it is death by 1,000 cuts. Even if we found that first issue, which is the most visible on that stream edge, you wouldn't find the ones underneath those massive boulders that required a machine to move. So, unfortunately, once again, the only way to surely fix it is to hire a professional and rip it out and do it right. Well, good morning guys. It is day 6 on this project. It's been a long one, but we're finally just around the corner. The waterfall is completely done. All we have to do is clean out that pond right there. See, we have the intake bay wrapped up. Other than that one edge right here, we get to just backfill with soil. The waterfall has a complete different look. We were able to take all the existing plants and the existing rock to create this waterfall. We brought an additional 2 tons of boulders in just for this waterfall. But you could see, just because of the elevations in this backyard of this whole hillside sloping away, look at all of the retaining work that we had to do. So this backside, we had to do all this retaining work just to hold up this waterfall right over here. Even though this waterfall is just about 20 inches of elevation, we have about 3.5 feet of just boulder work just to hold up the soil back here. Like I said previously, it wasn't in the budget to create a big formal wall or create a big boulder wall or just bring in a lot of soil to bleed this out how we would like to do it, but I still think it looks great. You can see it is retained basically on every single side just to hold that soil in. Our biofalls was shifted over a little bit. As you can see, this is how a biofall should be disguised. You cannot see anything once this water wells up. But for the agenda today, we are going to be installing our aerators, finishing off the lights in the waterfall. We're going to be adding another light in that spillway bolt. We have to gravel some sections over here, and then we have to wash down this whole pond. Once the pond's washed down, we get to fill this pond up and see how that waterfall looks. So walking off this patio, the first thing that you are greeted by is now this new bridge and intake bay. This pond, in the beginning you saw had an existing skimmer right here. Had troubles actually skimming the pond as well as fish going in it. So we transformed this to an intake bay. As you can see, all the debris is collecting in here and swirling around. We also incorporated a bridge to transition you into this upper patio over here. But then the biggest transformation was this waterfall.